The galaxy passed judgment. Earth deployed a response fleet, Part 1. The verdict. The message came at 3:47 in the morning, Earth time. Admiral Una Park was sleeping in her quarters aboard the Sejong when the emergency alarm pulled her awake. She had been dreaming of her childhood home in Bizen, of the sea and the sound of waves. Now she was staring at words that would change everything. She read the transmission 3 times. Each time, the words remained the same. The Galactic Concord, the great alliance of 3,000 species that ruled the stars, had passed judgment on humanity. The trial had lasted 6 months. Humanity had not been allowed to send a representative. They had only been allowed to submit written statements that nobody read. The charges were simple. Humanity had grown too fast. They had expanded into star systems that other species wanted. They had built weapons that made the older civilizations nervous. And worst of all, they had refused to give control of their military to the Concord. The punishment was also simple. Humanity was no longer welcome among the stars. All human ships had to return to the Sol system within 1 year. Any human found beyond the boundary after that time would be killed. Una sat on the edge of her bed and felt the weight of those words. 40 years. That was how long humanity had been part of the galactic community. 40 years of learning, trading, exploring. 40 years of hope. Now it was over. She dressed quickly and walked to the bridge. Her tactical officer, Captain Do-Wan Lee, was already there. He was a tall man with tired eyes, and he looked even more tired now. "You saw it," Una said. It was not a question. "Everyone saw it," Do-Wan replied. "The Concord broadcasted on every channel. They wanted to make sure we understood." On the main screen, a recording played. 17 alien ambassadors stood in a great hall made of white stone. One by one, they voted. Guilty, guilty, guilty. The word repeated like a drumbeat. Only one species did not vote. The hollow singers, ancient beings made of crystal and light, simply remained silent. Their abstention meant nothing. The result was clear. "They are afraid of us," Una said quietly. Do-Wan looked at her. "Afraid? They have thousands of warships. They have technology we cannot even understand. What could they possibly fear from us?" Una pointed at the screen, at the faces of the alien judges. "Look at them. These species have been traveling between stars for millions of years. They found solutions to their problems long ago and never changed them. They built their empires slowly, carefully, over countless generations." She paused, letting the words sink in. "And then they met us. 200 years ago, we were still fighting wars with bullets and bombs. We had never left our own planet. Now we have colonies on 12 worlds. We built our own faster-than-light engines without anyone's help. We reverse-engineered their technology and improved it." Do-Wan understood. "We are unpredictable. We are dangerous," Una corrected. "To them, we are a disease. We spread too fast. We change too quickly. They cannot control us, so they want to contain us." The transmission from Earth came an hour later. President Jia-Wan appeared on the screen, her face calm but her eyes hard. She was a small woman with gray hair, and she had led humanity through 3 major crises before this one. Now she faced the greatest challenge of all. "I have spoken with the Defense Council," she said. "We will comply with the withdrawal order. Our people will return to Sol space. We will not give them an excuse to attack us." There was silence on the bridge. Una felt her heart sink. Then the president continued. "But we will also prepare. The Concord believes we are weak because we are young. They believe we will accept this judgment because we have no choice. They are wrong." Her voice grew stronger. "I am authorizing the construction of a new fleet. It will be built in secret, in places the Concord cannot see. It will be crewed by volunteers who understand what we are fighting for. And when the time comes, it will remind the galaxy why they were right to fear us." She paused, and for a moment, she looked not like a president but like a grandmother about to tell a very important story. "Humanity has faced extinction before. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed us. Each time, we came back stronger. The Concord thinks this is the end of our story. They are wrong. This is only the beginning." The transmission ended. Tawan turned to Yuna. "Do you think we can win? Against the entire galaxy?" Yuna thought about the question for a long time. She thought about the ships humanity had, and the ships the Concord had. She thought about numbers and weapons and the cold mathematics of war. Then she thought about something else. She thought about the first humans who had looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. She thought about the scientists who had spent their lives solving impossible problems. She thought about the soldiers who had fought and died for things they believed in. "I think," she said slowly, "that we are very hard to kill. And I think the Concord is about to learn that lesson." Outside the window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere among them, the Concord was celebrating their victory. They believed the human problem was solved, that they had no idea what was coming. The galaxy passed judgment. Earth deployed a response fleet Part 2. The gathering storm, 3 months after the judgment. The withdrawal was going smoothly. Human colony ships left their new homes and returned to Earth. Mining stations shut down. Research bases went dark. From the outside, it looked like humanity had accepted defeat. But beneath the surface, something very different was happening. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, the ice stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction. It was a frozen wasteland where temperatures dropped so low that metal became brittle like glass. No alien species had ever bothered to look closely at this small, cold moon. That was exactly why Fleet Commander Taiwan Bay had built his shipyard there deep beneath the ice. In caverns carved by human machines, 17 warships were taking shape. They were not like any ships humanity had built before. They were smaller than the massive Concord dreadnoughts, but they were faster and more deadly. Taiwan walked through the construction bay, watching workers weld hull plates and install weapon systems. He was an old soldier with scars on his hands and gray in his hair. He had fought in 3 wars before humanity even reached the stars. Now he was building an army to fight the greatest enemy his species had ever faced. How long until they are ready? He asked. The woman beside him checked her tablet. Chief Engineer Haran Cho was young, barely 30 years old, but she was the smartest person Taiwan had ever met. She had spent 15 years studying alien technology, taking it apart and putting it back together. 6 months, she said. Maybe 5 if we push hard. We have 12 months until the deadline. Can you make them work? Haran smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I can make them do things the Concord thinks are impossible. She led him to a testing chamber where a strange device sat on a metal table. It looked like a sphere covered in glowing lines, and it hummed with energy. The Concord uses energy shields, Haran explained. They have used the same basic design for 10,000 years. It works well against energy weapons, so everyone in the galaxy uses energy weapons. Nobody ever thought to try anything different. She pressed a button, and a beam of light struck the sphere. The shield absorbed it easily. But humans are different. We look at something that works and ask how we can break it. She pressed another button. This time, instead of light, the device fired a pulse of twisted gravity. The sphere shuddered, and its shield flickered and died. Gravitational weapons, Haran said. The Concord abandoned this research millions of years ago because it was too unstable, too dangerous. We figured out how to make it work. Taiwan stared at the dead shield generator. And they have no defense against this? None. They will have to invent one, and that takes time. Time we will not give them. On Mars, in a small office filled with screens and data, intelligence officer Sungwoo Kang was doing a different kind of work. His job was to understand the enemy. Sunwoo was a quiet man who rarely smiled. He had spent 20 years studying alien cultures, learning their languages and their histories. Now he was learning their weaknesses. The Concorde is not evil, he told President Geo Wan during a secure video call. That is the problem. The president frowned. Explain. If they were evil, they would make mistakes. They would be cruel or careless. But they are not. They genuinely believe they are protecting the galaxy. To them, humanity is a virus. We spread too fast. We change too much. They think exiling us is the kind thing to do. The kind thing, the president repeated, her voice bitter. Yes, and that makes them more dangerous. A cruel enemy might hesitate. A frightened enemy might run. But an enemy who believes they are doing the right thing will never stop. He pulled up a display showing hundreds of ship designs and battle formations. I have studied their military doctrine. It has not changed in 50,000 years. Their tactics are based on overwhelming force and perfect coordination. They expect their enemies to fight the same way. And if we do not fight their way? Sunwoo allowed himself a small smile. Then they will not know what to do. Their generals have never faced an enemy like us. We do not follow rules. We do not fight fair. We adapt. The president nodded slowly. What do you recommend? Speed and surprise. We cannot match their numbers, so we must never let them use those numbers. Hit them where they do not expect. Disappear before they can respond. Make them afraid to fight us. Can we win? Sunwoo considered the question carefully. He was not a man who gave false hope. We can survive, he said finally. And sometimes survival is the same as victory. Across human space, the preparations continued. Soldiers trained in secret facilities, learning new tactics that broke every rule of galactic warfare. Scientists worked day and night, building weapons and defenses that had never existed before. Engineers solved problems that alien civilizations had declared unsolvable, and everywhere, ordinary people waited. They knew something was coming. They could feel it in the air, like the silence before a storm. On Europa, Taiwan Bay stood before the growing hull of the flagship and placed his hand on the cold metal. You will carry our hopes, he said quietly. You will carry our fury. And when the time comes, you will show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. The ship did not answer, but deep in its unfinished systems, power began to flow. The storm was gathering, and soon it would break. The galaxy passed judgment. Earth deployed a response fleet Part 3. First contact. Second chance. 3 weeks before the deadline. Something unexpected happened. Ambassador Yoonji Nam was working late in her office on Luna Station when her assistant rushed in with wide eyes. Ma'am, we have a visitor. An alien visitor. They came alone, without warning. Yoonji stood up slowly. What species? Hollow Singer. The name sent a chill down her spine. The Hollow Singers were the oldest species in the galaxy. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. And during the trial, they had been the only species that did not vote against humanity. Send them in, Yoonji said. The being that entered her office was beautiful and terrifying. It stood 3 meters tall, a creature of crystal and light. Its body was transparent, and inside, colors swirled like clouds in a storm. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind blowing through glass. I am called 12 Echoes of Dawn in your language, it said. I have come to speak with you. Yoonji bowed respectfully. Your visit honors us. Please, sit. The singer did not sit. Perhaps it could not. Instead, it stood in the center of the room and looked at Yoonji with eyes that had seen more years than humanity had existed. "We abstained from the vote," it said. "Do you know why?" "No, we have wondered. Because we remember." The singer's voice grew deeper, sadder. "Long ago, before your species existed, there was another young civilization. They called themselves the Architects. They were curious and creative, like you. They built wonders that amazed the galaxy. And they grew too fast." Yoonji listened, her heart beating faster. The Concord of that time grew afraid. They said the Architects were dangerous. They said they needed to be controlled. When the Architects refused, the Concord destroyed them. Every ship, every colony, every trace of their existence. The singer paused, and its crystal body flickered with dark colors. "We did not vote against the Architects, but we did not speak for them either. We watched in silence as they were erased from the universe. For 9 million years, we have regretted that silence. And now?" Yoonji asked. "Now we will not repeat our mistake. We cannot openly support you. The other species would not listen. But we can warn you." The singer's voice became urgent. "The Concord fleet will arrive at your border in 19 days. They are bringing 400 warships from 9 different species. Their commander is High Marshal Velerin of the Keth Dominion. He's old and experienced, and he has never lost a battle." Yoonji felt cold fear grip her chest. 400 ships. We have 17. Yes, if you fight the way the Concord expects, you will lose. Your species will be destroyed, just like the Architects. Then what do you suggest? The singer moved closer, and its light grew brighter. "The Concord understands only 2 things, submission and strength. If you submit, they will cage you forever. If you show strength, they may reconsider. Show strength. Against 400 ships? You must win," the singer said simply. "Not just survive, win, quickly and completely. Show them that the cost of fighting you is too high. Make them afraid." Yoonji shook her head. "That seems impossible. Many things seem impossible until someone does them. Your species has done impossible things before. You built flying machines when you did not have them. You split the atom. You reached for the stars when you had barely left your cradle." The singer's voice softened. "I have watched you for 40 years, Ambassador. You are not like other species. You do not accept limits. You do not believe in impossible. That is why the Concord fears you. That is why they want to destroy you." It began to move toward the door, then stopped. "One more thing. If you fail, the Concord will not simply exile you. They will burn your worlds. They will kill your children. They will make sure nothing remains." Velerin believes in clean solutions. After the singer left, Yoonji sat alone in her office for a long time. Then she opened a secure channel to Earth. President Geo-wan listened to everything without interrupting. When Yoonji finished, there was silence. 19 days, the president said finally. "And 400 ships?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you believe the singer? That we can win?" Yoonji thought about the question. She thought about the Architects, a species so completely destroyed that not even their names survived in most records. She thought about her own family, her nieces and nephews, who were too young to understand what was happening. "I believe we have to try," she said. "If we surrender, they will cage us. If we fight and lose, they will kill us. But if we fight and win, then everything changes," the president finished. "Yes." The president was quiet for a moment. Then her voice grew hard. "Call Admiral Park. Call Commander Bay. Call everyone. We have 19 days to prepare for the most important battle in human history." She paused. "And tell them we are not going to lose." The call ended, and across human space, the final preparations began. Ships were loaded with weapons. Crews were assigned to stations. Plans were reviewed and reviewed again. And in the darkness of space, the Concorde fleet began its journey towards Sol. 400 ships carrying the judgment of the galaxy. They expected to find a defeated enemy waiting to surrender. They had no idea what was really waiting for them. The galaxy passed judgment. Earth deployed a response. Fleet Part 4. The Battle of the Boundary, the Concorde. Armada arrived exactly on time. 412 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Sol space. They arranged themselves in perfect formation, a wall of metal and weapons stretching across thousands of kilometers. Each ship was painted with the symbols of its homeworld. Each carried enough firepower to destroy a city. High Marshal Velerin stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the screens showing the human solar system. He was an old warrior, his scales gray with age and his eyes sharp with experience. He had fought in 37 wars and won them all. This would not be a war. This would be an execution. Send the final message, he ordered. His communications officer broadcast on all channels. Humans of Earth, your time has ended. Surrender your vessels, your weapons, and your leaders. Accept confinement to your homeworld. You have 1 hour to respond. This is not negotiable. The Armada waited. 1 hour passed. There was no response. Velerin allowed himself a moment of disappointment. He had hoped the humans would be sensible. Surrender would have been cleaner, easier. But if they wanted to die fighting, he would give them that death. All ships, he said, prepare to advance. We will crush them quickly. And the alarm started screaming. Across the boundary line, space itself seemed to tear open. Ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at 17 different points simultaneously. They appeared in the gaps between Concorde formations, behind the Armada's flanks, above and below the main fleet. 17 human ships against 400. Velerin stared at the tactical display. That is impossible. Ships cannot exit faster than light with that precision. The mathematics do not allow it. His tactical officer's voice shook. Sir, they are attacking. On the bridge of the Sejong, Admiral Una Park watched her fleet scatter into battle. Pattern autumn leaves, she commanded. All ships, engage. The human ships did not behave like proper warships. They did not form lines. They did not advance in formation. Instead, they moved like birds, like wind, like chaos itself. Captain Dohwan Lee called out the first targets. Gravitational weapons fire. The new weapons worked perfectly. Pulses of twisted gravity struck Concorde ships, and their shields collapsed like paper in a fire. The alien vessels had no defense against this attack. They had abandoned this technology millions of years ago because it was too dangerous. Humans had made it work. In the first 10 minutes, 12 Concorde ships were destroyed. Velerin shouted orders, trying to reorganize his fleet. But the humans refused to stay in one place. They would appear, fire, and vanish into faster-than-light before the Concorde could respond. Then they would appear somewhere else and strike again. They are using micro-jumps, his science officer reported. Very short, faster-than-light jumps. The energy cost is enormous. Can we predict where they will appear? No, sir. Their patterns are chaotic. There is no logic to their movements. That was the point. Chief Engineer Haran Cho had designed the tactics herself. She understood how the Concorde thought. They planned everything. They calculated everything. They expected their enemies to do the same. But humans did not calculate. Humans improvised. In the heat of battle, Captain Minzeo Yun of the destroyer Guangato made a decision that broke every rule of military strategy. His ship was damaged, engines failing, weapons low on power. A Concorde cruiser was moving in for the kill. Instead of retreating, Manseo ordered full speed ahead. His ship slammed into the Concorde cruiser at incredible velocity. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire. But the explosion destroyed 3 more alien ships that were too close. Veleran watched the suicide attack with horror. What are they doing? That makes no tactical sense. His aide answered quietly. They are showing us they are not afraid to die. The battle continued for hours. The Concorde tried formation after formation, tactic after tactic. The humans countered each one within minutes. They hacked Concorde communication systems and filled them with noise. They launched decoy drones that confused targeting sensors. They did things that no civilized species would ever do. They fought dirty. They fought desperate. They fought like their entire species depended on it. Because it did dot by the 3rd hour, the Concorde had lost over 100 ships. Human losses were 11. Admiral Yuna watched the enemy fleet begin to waver. She could see it in their movements, the way they hesitated before each maneuver. They were not just losing. They were confused. They did not understand what was happening. All ships, she broadcast. Push harder. They are breaking. The human fleet attacked with renewed fury. They targeted command ships, communication relays, anything that could coordinate the Concorde response. Without orders, the alien vessels began to fall into disorder. On his bridge, Veleran finally understood what he was facing. It was not human technology that made them dangerous. Other species had better technology. It was not human numbers. They were vastly outnumbered. It was not even human courage. Though they had plenty of that, it was their minds. They learned faster than any species he had ever encountered. Every tactic he used, they countered within minutes. Every pattern he tried, they broke immediately. They did not fight like soldiers. They fought like water, flowing around every obstacle, finding every weakness. They had been spacefaring for only 2 centuries, and they were already outthinking civilizations that had fought among the stars for millions of years. Veleran made the hardest decision of his life. All ships, he said, his voice heavy with shame. Retreat. The Concorde Armada turned and fled. On the bridge of the Sejong, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then Do-1 turned to Yuna with wide eyes. We won, he said. We actually won. Yuna looked at the tactical display, at the enemy ships disappearing into faster-than-light travel. She thought about the 11 ships they had lost, the brave crews who had died. Yes, she said quietly, but this is only the beginning. She was right. The battle was over. The war for humanity's future had just begun. The galaxy passed judgment. Earth deployed a response fleet Part 5, a new equilibrium. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy like fire. The Concorde Armada had retreated. The humans had won. It seemed impossible, but it was true. 17 small ships had defeated 400 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. In the halls of the Concorde, there was chaos. The tribunal met an emergency session, but nobody knew what to say. For 12,000 years, no species had successfully defied the Concorde's judgment. The old systems, the old certainties, were suddenly broken. High Marshal Veleran submitted his resignation and disappeared into seclusion. He never spoke publicly about the battle again, but those close to him said he spent his remaining years studying human history, trying to understand what he had faced. He never found an answer that satisfied him. On Earth, the celebrations were loud but brief. President Jia-wan addressed the United Nations, but her words were broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. We did not ask for this conflict, she said. We sought only to explore, to grow, to join the community of thinking beings in this universe. We were told we were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too human. She paused, her eyes steady. Perhaps that is true. We are young. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We break things and rebuild them. These are not flaws to be corrected. These are the traits that carried us from caves to the stars in a single heartbeat of cosmic time. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched and listened. The galaxy passed judgment on us. We responded not with surrender, but with strength. Now we offer something else. Partnership. True partnership between equals. Her voice grew firmer. We will not submit to oversight. We will not accept exile, but we will extend our hand to any species willing to take it. We have shown what we can do as enemies. Let us show what we can do as friends. The speech ended, and the galaxy held its breath. 1 month later, the Hollow Singers made their move. Their ambassador appeared at Luna Station and formally recognized humanity as a sovereign galactic power. It was the first time in 1,000,000 years that the Hollow Singers had taken any political action. The message was clear. The old order was changing. Within a year, 17 other species followed. Some were small civilizations that had always resented the Concord's control. Others were larger powers who saw opportunity in humanity's rise. Together, they formed the beginning of something new. Not a replacement for the Concord. Not an empire, just a different way of doing things. Admiral Una Park retired from the fleet 6 months after the battle. She had given her whole life to the military, and she was tired. She bought a small house on Jeju Island, on the southern coast of Korea. It had a garden that overlooked the sea, and she spent her days growing vegetables and watching the waves. Sometimes, at night, she would look up at the stars. She would think about the friends she had lost, the battles she had fought, the impossible things she had done. And she would smile because she knew that somewhere up there, humanity was still reaching for new horizons. Captain Do Hwan Lee took command of the Sejong. His first mission was a diplomatic voyage beyond the old Concord borders, into the uncharted regions of space where the ruins of the architects still drifted in the void. Maybe we can learn from them, he told his crew. They failed where we succeeded, but they built wonders. We should not let those wonders be forgotten. They found things among the ruins, technologies that had been lost for millions of years, art that made even hardened soldiers weep. And most importantly, they found the architect's final message. Carved into a monument the size of a moon dot, it said, "We were here. We dreamed. We failed. But somewhere, someday, others will dream the same dreams. And maybe they will succeed." Do Hwan read those words and felt the weight of history on his shoulders. He swore that humanity would not fail like the architects had. They would succeed. They would survive. They would thrive. Chief Engineer Haran Cho founded the New Horizons Institute. Its purpose was simple: develop technologies that would benefit both humanity and its new allies. Her first project was a universal translation system that worked better than anything the Concord had ever created. Technology should bring species together, she told her team, not keep them apart. The institute grew quickly. Within 5 years, it had branches on 12 worlds and employed researchers from 20 different species. They worked side by side, sharing ideas, solving problems together. It was exactly what Haran had always dreamed of. Intelligence Officer Sun Woo Kang was appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Concord itself. His job was the hardest of all: turn former enemies into reluctant friends. He knew it would take decades. The Concord was old and proud, and they did not forgive easily. But Sun Woo was patient. He understood that change happens slowly, one conversation at a time. They are not evil, he reminded himself every morning. They are afraid, and fear can be overcome. He spent years building relationships, proving that humanity could be trusted. It was slow work, frustrating work. But piece by piece, the walls began to come down, Ambassador Yoonji Nam remained at Luna Station, the gateway between human space and the galaxy. She watched ships come and go, carrying diplomats and traders and explorers. Each one was proof that the universe was changing. One day, 12 echoes of dawn returned. The ancient hollow singer stood in Yoonji's office, its crystal form shimmering with colors she had never seen before. "Why did you help us?" Yoonji asked. "After 9 million years of silence, why speak now?" The singer was quiet for a long moment. When it answered, its voice was soft. "Because you reminded us of who we used to be. Before we grew old and cautious and afraid. You reminded us that the universe rewards those who dare. Perhaps it is too late for the hollow singers to remember courage. But it is not too late to recognize it in others." Yoonji smiled. "Maybe you could learn again. We are pretty good teachers." The singer's form flickered with what might have been amusement. "Perhaps. The galaxy is changing, Ambassador Nam. Your species has ensured that. What comes next, no one can predict." Yoonji looked out the window at the stars. They were the same stars that humans had looked at for thousands of years. But now, they meant something different. They were not just distant lights. They were places to go, worlds to explore, friends to make. "Good," she said. "Predictability was never really our style." Outside, the universe stretched on forever, full of danger and wonder and possibility. And humanity was just getting started.